everybody. Welcome to the February Lymphedema Patient Roundtable hosted by LymphoPress. It's a Valentine's week, and we're absolutely smitten to have you here with us tonight. So, my name is Alexa Ercolano. I'm the Marketing and Communications Associate here at LymphoPress, and I also have primary lymphedema myself. And be still my heart. We've got a full dance card tonight. Look at all these faces on our panel. So while we wait for everybody to log on, I'm going to introduce everybody on screen. So we've got Karen Ashforth, our certified lymphedema therapist and fibrosis queen, Angela Jones, lymphedema patient and health coach, Catherine Rosenberg, pediatric cancer survivor with secondary lymphedema. We've got Evie Dominguez, roller skating primary lymphedema patient, Olivia Eggers, who has global primary lymphedema, and Malik Dockery, who is a territory manager here at LymphoPress for the Northeast North Carolina territory. In the marketing department, we're always getting wonderful feedback, glowing feedback about Malik, and he's just got such a warm, welcoming personality. So we're super excited he's with us tonight because we're talking all about support systems tonight in honor of Valentine. So before we get started, quick housekeeping. Remember to pop your questions in the Q&A box so that way we can get to them throughout the evening. We've got a long list of stuff to chat about tonight, so we'll try and get to all your questions. And at the end of the evening, Karen's going to lead us in a lovely closing reflection like she's wont to do. And a gentle reminder that we're not your doctor, but we are your pals, which means we cannot speak to your specific treatment. We can only speak to our own experiences, and we'll defer to Karen on the panel for any general medical discussion. So enough from me. We got a lot to talk about, so we're going to get started. I mentioned we're talking about support systems because it's Valentine's week and love and support comes in many forms. So we know that lymphedema can feel really isolating and lonely sometimes living with this, and a good support system is really important. So I'm asking the panel, and anybody can chime in, and same in the chat too. What does your support system look like, and what are some ways you've built up your support system? Anybody want to get us started? Evie, I see you trying to unmute. It's the microphone button. There you go.
Yeah. I think for me, my support system, I find my support system through my family. So my parents and my sisters. My family, I mean, ever since day one when I was born with lymphedema, like all the work that they put into taking me to all of my treatments and learning MLD themselves and 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 all the work we put in together, I couldn't have asked for a better support system. I wouldn't be where I am today without them. And my sisters and my two best friends, Melissa and Molly, they're so having friends that love you unconditionally for who you are. It builds you up. It's such a service to yourself and to your loved ones. And even at work, like my colleagues are so supportive of me with my lymphedema whenever I need to be excused to go to the lymphedema clinic. There's no questions asked. Go take care of yourself. If you need anything, we're here for you. It's finding the people who want to take time to spend time with you and also support you in any way possible when it comes to your lymphedema. No questions asked. Like those are the people you want to have in your life. Those are the people that you want backing you up. And likewise, I do the same thing for my family, my friends, and my coworkers. So that is my support system. What about you guys? Take it away, Alexa.
That's awesome. What a lovely answer. And Susan in the chat says family and those close to her are her greatest support. And Mary says that she's got a great husband and her son and family are very supportive as well, which is great. I mean, family is wonderful. I have a twin sister and she does not have lymphedema, but she's always been there for me just through many a sobbing shoe shopping experience or pants shopping. She's there. But Olivia, I'm going to put you on the spot because when we were at Camp Watch Me together last summer, you spoke to the kids and their parents about how your friends have really shown up for you and have become lymphedema advocates in their own way. Would you mind kind of like telling everybody else about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking. Yeah, so I'll firstly say my family is amazing. They are absolutely part of my support system. Don't get me wrong there too. My parents, they just live in Europe, so they're pretty far away. So I'm not as in touch with them as I am with a lot of my friends like that are in my personal life. And my friends are so supportive of me. Something that has become very apparent in a lot of the relationships that I've built with my friends is the willingness they have to learn more about me and my rare disease. And there's actually a disability theory term behind this that I think I've talked to you, Alexa, about before. But there's this term called intimacy access. And it's this idea that the people in your life kind of automatically preemptively will know what your needs are and how they can best accommodate you. And that's something that my friends are really good at. I will say this term, by the way, is coined by Mia Mingus, who is a disability activist herself and also a transracial adoptee. And she's talked a lot about the intersection between being adoptee and disabled and how the people in her life have shown up for her, and just been able to assess her needs right off the bat. And I think that's something that my friends are really, really good at. Like I will go visit my friends in New York or something, and they'll plan an entire itinerary of fun things for us to do around the Big Apple, and that can be kind of exhausting when you're someone who does have a disability and a rare disease and chronic pain and all of that. And so something that I've found that my friends will just do without me even asking is when they are planning itineraries, when they're making it so that I'm able to be comfortable throughout the weekend, they'll automatically take my lymphedema into account. Like they'll be like, okay, we're going to go to brunch and then later we're going to see a Broadway show, but we're going to make sure there's like some hours between those two events so that if Olivia needs to elevate, she can do that. If Olivia needs, to take some time to rest, she can do that. My friend, when I go to visit her, she will make me a spare key to her apartment, just knowing that sometimes I get really tired and I can't necessarily stay out as late as everyone else. So she wants to make sure I have the ability to just go straight home, if need be, get myself into her apartment so I can go to sleep and I can rest as I need to. And that's something that I just am so grateful for. And they're also always willing to have the difficult conversations too. I think when we talk about rare diseases that people are more unaware of, there can be a lot of hesitancy and fear around saying the wrong thing. And that's being human, like sometimes you're not going to know the most about something and you're going to say the wrong thing. But something I really appreciate with my community is their willingness to ask questions and to learn more. And if they do say the wrong thing, they'll say, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. And now I know why. And they've taken the time to also do the research on their end and learn more, learn what I need, like maybe what foods I should be eating. Or they'll say, like, Olivia, you need to drink water. Like, you haven't done that in a hot minute. Let's do that. We know hydration is important for lymphedema. So it's just little acts like that where I feel like I don't even have to ask for things. They're just automatically, they have that in their mindset when they're interacting with me. And it just makes me feel so seen. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. And I'm so grateful to my friends for that, because I think without that support, it would have been a lot harder for me to accept myself as well. So a lot of props to my friends. I'm really grateful for them. That's what I'll say.
I love that. You've got such a beautiful support system in your friends. I love the idea of getting the spare key so you can just go home and prop your feet up if when you need to and you've had enough. That's true friendship there. I love it. Joanne in the chat said family is important. Her PT, though, is just as important and has made an incredible difference. CNAs and doctors fill the list. Outside resources such as this roundtable also help, which we love that because sometimes support systems aren't in real life. They're real life, like tangible. They're in the computer, they're in the phone, and it's these connections. We're so fortunate that we have people all over the world who can understand this shared experience of living with lymphedema. And it's been really great to kind of be able to tap into that. I think tomorrow actually is Online Friends Day, one of those social media holidays. And I have so many online friends from this community, and I'm so grateful for that. So Catherine, Angela, any other, how have you built up your support systems? Catherine, I see you reaching.
Yep. So I actually have a really good support system at work as well. My coworkers understand what I deal with. I actually have my students actually ask me, well, what color compression stocking are you wearing today? Because anybody who knows me knows that I don't wear beige or black unless I absolutely have to. I spike out the colors, kind of like Olivia does, because I have the same color actually on my leg today that you have on your arm. And it's definitely, it can be difficult at times, especially if like we're having a complication. But And especially if there's people who don't understand what I'm dealing with or what I'm going through. But most times, like my work actually, I'm a teacher, actually lets me leave early if I need to get to a doctor's appointment. They don't really question it. They actually give me off 8th period every year. So that this way, if I need to leave, I can to get to Philadelphia is about hour and a half, 2 hours for me. So a typical doctor's appointment normally is 3:30, 4 o'clock. If I had to stay till the end of the day, it's 2 o'clock. I'm like busting my butt to get there. And I'm lucky if I get there because of rush hour traffic. So by being able to leave at 1 o'clock, I can get there and not have to rush to get there and worry about, oh my God, I'm gonna be late. They're not gonna see me, those kind of things. But it's one of those things like you have to, kind of play the game. I'll call it, we play a game a little bit in terms of, how much do you share with people so they understand what's going on, but also keeping it enough that they don't necessarily like question you 25,000 times in a day of what are you okay? Because we don't need that either. Like just because we have this condition doesn't mean we can't live our real lives. And I've been asked so many times, how do you work full time? And I do. I've been working full time for, God, I've been teaching 17 years. So I'm on my feet all day long, every day. And I teach some challenging students, and they actually realize that sometimes I need to sit. My work doesn't give me a hard time about sitting. They understand that, and most places are like, oh, you can't do that. Well, yeah, I can, and I'm going to, because I need to do what's best for me. So, and that's one of the things that we have to remember is we have to do what's best for us. And sometimes it might mean that we have to leave a job and change jobs because they're not willing to work with us, even though we have documented medical situations. So, you always make sure that you have those kind of conversations to the best of your ability with employers if they are kind of giving you a little bit of a rough time about it, because if they don't know, they don't understand.
That really resonates. If they don't know, they don't understand. You always get those little gems because when we were planning tonight's roundtable and I was sending the email out to the panelists, I had mentioned Catherine had this really great quote last year where she said, if you don't communicate with yourself about your condition and you can't accept it for yourself, how can you expect anybody else to accept it for you? And that's more about the relationships we have with ourselves and our lymphedema, which I want to get more into later on tonight. So I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but Catherine always has those really great little gems there. And I think you make a really good point about how sometimes support that people offer us, they think it's helpful. They think they're doing the right thing by kind of, being this little mother hen and making sure we're okay. Do we need anything? Do we need anything? But that's not always the support we need. And I think being able to speak up and saying what it is you need from whoever it is in your support system is super important. So Angela, I know I told you I wouldn't put you on the spot tonight, but I'm putting you on the spot for this one.
I have two different support groups. I have my North Carolina, which is primarily family and friends. Those are the ones who baby me. And those are the ones that just kind of let me dangle if I need to dangle, move if I need to move. They don't make a lot of demands on me. And my Arizona group, they're very demanding. They keep me active. They won't let me be still. They make sure I'm doing the things I need to do to be okay. So both groups give me something different. Neither one is a favorite. I love them both, so I'm happy to have them.
I love that. And I'm going to ask Karen and Malik, because you both work with lymphedema patients. How do you support the lymphedema patients through your work? Either one of you want to go first?
I feel like I support them from the time they walk in the door, because the first time that I see someone, typically they're angry or they're scared or both. And so I am ready to receive that and make it okay for people to have whatever feelings they have. But at the same time, I want to create a lot of hope during our sessions. And that's how I support my patients, is I give them education and I give them hope. Because everything that we're talking about, everything that I'm teaching them is all about ways that they can make themselves be the best that they can possibly be. And a lot of times that includes widening their support systems, because it's really hard to do this as a Lone Ranger. So that's my piece. Malik?
Sure. Definitely, from a sales rep perspective, I agree with you, Karen. I typically, when I see lymphedema patients, I ask them, "How can I be of service to you?" Because no matter, what I think as a rep, or no matter how I may feel about certain things, as in what pump you may want or I think you should have, I really leave it up to my patients and let them tell me what they believe they should have, what they think can work and accommodate for them. Because Olivia lifestyle is not going to be the same as Catherine lifestyle, or Angela lifestyle is not going to be the same as yours, Alexis. So I just say that to say I make sure when I see every patient that I encounter with, I ask them for their needs. I ask them how I can be a support system to them. I ask them, what can I do to make your day better? Because I'm pretty sure that you guys, have different emotions. Like Karen said, you sometimes angry, scared, or both. So I just try to be that supportive system, that listening ear, because some people just need that. And, that's one thing I notice a lot from my patients. They just want somebody to go to have somebody to speak with and feel heard and not feel judged or feel like they're the off one from everybody else. And so I encourage my patients to, call me if you ever just need a time to chat. I know I can't chat all the time, because I have to service a lot of other patients to make sure I'm keeping those beautiful smiles on patients' faces. But I do know that I make sure it's not about me, it's about the patient and how I can be a service to them. So.
Beautiful answers. Thank you. And the work that you do is so important, because our therapists, our territory managers, sales reps, anybody we come across with in our lymphedema lives, like when you take that time to offer us that hope and to listen and to validate what we're feeling, the anger piece that Karen mentioned, it does help us feel that much more seen and empowered. We're going to take a quick detour because we're getting a lot of questions coming in. I know that there was one that Karen, you flagged that you'd want to answer. Would you mind taking that one? We had an anonymous attendee said that they're looking into having a vascularized omentum lymph node transfer for their left leg and wondering if there's anyone out there who has had a similar surgery and would be willing to talk to them about their experiences and outcome.
So actually, Catherine just messaged saying she can take this. So but what I want to do before turning this over to Catherine is to highlight that if anyone has had a lymph node transfer who would be willing to talk to Claudia, she gave me permission to put her contact information in the chat, her email and her phone. So she is widening her support group by asking for help from y'all. And Catherine, if you wanted to just kind of say something, in a capsule, how it went for you.
Sure. So I had it done in 2018. And honestly, I did get quite good results from it. The one thing that was super important for me was to make sure I understood what the pre-surgical and post-surgical requirements were from the particular doctor who was doing it, to make sure that they were going to work within my lifestyle. Because if they weren't going to work in my lifestyle, there was no point in me actually doing it, because it wasn't going to be as successful as he would have wanted. So I did that. Every doctor that I know of has different protocols for what they do, pre and post surgically. I can tell you that pre surgically, I had to go through 4 weeks of CDT, very aggressive CDT, as well as making sure I had the pre surgical imaging done. So I flew to Dallas, Texas. I live in New Jersey. I flew to Dallas, Texas to have this done. And they imaged me the day before the surgery. And actually, due to what he saw, changed his entire surgical plan 18 hours before the surgery, and it was still done. And from that, we then had to do post-surgical care. And one of the scariest things for me was that my post-surgical care involved no compression on my leg for 3 months. I was not allowed to wear compression on my leg to make sure that the transplant did not die on my calf. And in doing that, it was the scariest thing. I actually had some people say to me, "Oh my God, you actually have a leg that looks normal," because nobody has ever seen it. They've always seen my cool colors and nothing that looks like a normal leg. So they didn't realize that I actually had a normal leg under there. That was kind of, my brother who lives with me even said, "I didn't realize that your leg actually looked normal." And I actually wasn't allowed to hang my leg down for more than 15 minutes a day for the first 2 months. So that was a little bit challenging because I couldn't work because I'm a teacher. So normally my legs are hanging down or I'm standing up. That wasn't allowed. My incorporated in those 15 minutes was my time to walk to get to the bathroom. So clearly I was only allowed to have my leg down probably about 5 minutes every hour. So, but those were the two hardest pieces. Once I was cleared to go back to manual lymph drainage, we saw results quick. Because it was once everything had seated itself and was growing into what it needed to grow into. I also not only had the omentum transplant, they also did 3 lymphovenous bypasses at the same time into my calf, all at one shot. So, but the biggest things are to make sure that the surgeon knows what you're looking for outcome wise. Making sure that you understand what his protocols are. And if you have questions about their protocols, make sure you ask, because if you don't ask, you don't know. And you can't prepare as best as you possibly can. And honestly, if you have questions, don't be afraid to reach out to the doctor. It may be annoying to their office, but the doctor would rather you ask those questions if you're confused, even after it's done, to make sure you're doing it properly to get those best outcomes that are possible.
I'm sensing a theme in speaking up, advocating for yourself. They don't know what they don't know. Catherine is like our spokesperson for self-advocacy, and so glad that you're here with us tonight to give that information. Really appreciate that. I'm gonna hard pivot back to the support stuff. Thank you for so keep the questions coming in the Q&A box too. Actually, oh gosh, we got a question from Rosie just now, so maybe we'll go back to a Q&A. Rosie said that she wants to plan a road trip this summer. She has lymphedema in both legs and wears thigh-high compression stockings. I use a LymphoPress compression pump and wear overnight compression wraps on legs at night. How long can I drive before taking breaks throughout the day? So anyone on the panel want to speak to that? And meanwhile, I'm going to drop a link to a webinar we did about travel tips with lymphedema. But go ahead, Catherine.
Okay, so I actually took a road trip and visited Angela last summer on my way down to my mom and dad's house in South Carolina. It's about a 9-hour drive. Definitely probably stopped at least 3 or 4 times because number one, I drink a lot of water when I'm traveling. Doesn't matter if it's by car, by plane, by train, any which one of those things. So obviously I have to stop and go to the bathroom. Also, you have to stop and get yourself moving a little bit, so you don't want to get stuck. And one of the best things that I can tell you that I did before I left was actually use my LymphoPress pump before I left to help clear out those hip areas and joint areas to make sure it didn't get extra stuck while I was sitting in the same position the entire time.
That is a really good tip, because I've heard of doing like prehab with your LymphoPress pump before like surgery or things like that, but prehab for a road trip is great. I like that a lot. Any other patients on the panel have tips for long drives? Evie.
Yeah, I do. Typically, like when I'm driving from San Francisco to LA, actually, this happened to me in Hardeep. And if you guys don't know Hardeep, she has lymphedema in her arm, but we took a road trip from San Francisco to LA, and that road trip is kind of like 5.5 hours, but that turned into like 10 hours for us because we just had to pull over and just chill out, stretch, go to Starbucks. The same thing happened to me when I was in Florida when I drove from Fort Lauderdale all the way up to Jacksonville. Again, like even just pulling over to stretch, I really need to stretch my legs, helps so much. Stretching it's key for those road trips.
Excellent, excellent advice. We've got another question in the chat from Debbie, and this might be for Karen and Malik. Debbie says that she has what seems like stage 10 of lymphedema for about 3 years. She's swollen all over her body. Lately, when she does her leg pumps, she has muscle spasms in her legs. It's awful, and trying to get out of her pumps to put her, or it's awful trying to get out of my pumps to put my feet on the ground. I eat banana chips since I don't have fresh bananas. This has been happening for about 2 weeks. Any suggestions? Are there potassium vitamins I can take? What could that be about, and how can she alleviate? Karen?
Yeah, so potassium is a good idea. You also might want to check out electrolytes because that electrolytes have other minerals besides potassium, and the cramping is a common sign of low potassium, but you may want to combine with a bunch of other minerals, like in electrolytes. But foods that are good sources of potassium would be apricots and other dried fruit. Other tree fruits such as avocados, apples, oranges, and then of course bananas. But leafy greens, people don't realize that leafy greens are a great source of potassium as well as all kinds of other cool nutrients. And then vine fruits like tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, eggplant, and pumpkin, and root vegetables such as carrots, potatoes, and sweet potatoes. So going after your fruits and veggies could be a help as well as supplementing. So that's what I got. Malik, anything?
I will say, actually, Karen, you gave me some things I need to do better for myself. Especially as a sales rep, I do a ton of driving. I drive almost on average anywhere between 7 and 9 hours a day. Because I cover a big territory. But I will say sometimes too, I'm not sure what kind of pump you have from us, either the Optimal Plus or the basic pump, but I do sometimes ask patients about their settings. And sometimes I have to kind of bring them down depending on, again, the settings that you're on. Sometimes I know we can overwork those valves down there. That can happen as well. So sometimes if you may be overworking those valves, they can probably get a little agitated. So I do know that sometimes I try to figure out um, the frequency of you, how often you're able to pump. I ask patients kind of like what their day to day life is like. Some patients, they can't pump in the morning at all because they have to get up too early for work. Some patients, they only can get their pumping in the evening or in the afternoon. So I say that to say I typically try to figure out your day to day. Some patients that that work currently or they're in the retirement phases of their life, which is a blessing. Hopefully, I get there soon. But I said that to say some patients I encourage them to pump in the morning before they start having an active day. Get that stuff cleared out, and then go ahead on a walk. Get those legs pumping. Get those calf muscles working. Get that fluid and those valves kicking back in because they're, sometimes leaning on that support from the pump. And now you're trying to get your body to get back to its normal, life, and how move in the day to day. So I just had to say, if you totally, want to reach out to me, give me a call. I can kind of ask you kind of just what's your day to day, what kind of pump do you have, and kind of go from there. Because every patient is different. So we would just try to figure out what works best for you and how we can accommodate. And also, I tell everybody, please, please, please give your body a chance to heal, a chance to understand what is going on. People want results in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I tell them, I'm not saying that you don't want to get those results, but you have to give your body a chance to heal. You have to give your body a chance to respond. So that would be my advice for that patient, for sure.
Thank you, Malik, and Karen too. We got a couple more tips in the chat. Back to the car rides. Fenton says, for every long trip, plan for frequent stops every 2 hours. Pull over, stretch those lymph extremities, pack healthy fruit and veggie snacks. And Leela says, frequent breaks on road trips, plan ahead, leave earlier and take your time. If available, take a buddy with you. And Kimberly says, When we travel in my husband's truck, I like to crawl in the back seat and put my night garment on for a break from regular compression. I do MLD before putting the regular compression garment back on. And, oops, I missed it. Pack on, and then we stop and walk a bit before driving again, which is so nice. We have a great question here from Marielle, who is a first timer to the panel, and I think this is going to be another one for Karen and Malik. Marielle says, "Hi, it's my first time on this panel. I have chronic and genetic lymphedema in both legs. I'm 45 now. I've been doing some massages and all the lifestyle interventions. However, I'm planning to get a pump machine or massager. I can see a lot on the market, don't know what to choose. My specialist, who is overseas, recommended something simple from Amazon. I live now in Australia and couldn't find a specialist yet. Any recommendations?" So we've got a couple people on the panel who use different kinds of pumps. And we can also talk a bit about the difference between the medical pumps and the ones that you find on Amazon. And Karen, I see you raring to go. You take us away.
So I do have patients that spend their good money on getting cheap Amazon pumps, and you really do get what you pay for. Unfortunately, there are also other pumps out there that are covered by insurance that are, I would consider to be kind of cheap knockoffs. So it's really good to research. And you didn't mention whether you have a insurance to pay for this. I know that you're in Australia, so it just kind of depends from country to country what's covered. I will tell you that they do have Lymphopress in Australia, and I can drop the name of the person, Paul Taylor, who is the contact in Australia, in the chat, if you want to reach out to him and see what he has to say. I will tell you that as a therapist, I've worked with pumps for 17 years. I have been working with every kind of pump I can get my hands on, from the ones you get on Amazon to everything else. And I have to say that Lymphopress is the best. That's why I'm here, because I really believe that Lymphopress has the best features, the best customer service, the best everything. It breaks my heart when a patient comes to me with another pump that isn't working for them, and their insurance won't necessarily pay for another pump right away, because in the US, there's restrictions. With Medicare, it's 5 years. And it's really hard to see someone who has a pump that works maybe at the time that they got it, but then their situation has changed and the pump won't change with them. And I'll do my best to try to make it work, but sometimes people have to end up paying out of pocket to get what they really need. So I would strongly suggest you get what you need from the get-go, and definitely reach out to Paul, because he can certainly give you information without a hard sell.
Thanks, Karen. And we always say, lymphedema treatment is very trial and error. What works for some people might not work for others. Obviously, most of us here are Lymphopress peeps, but we do have others on the panel who use other pumps too, and it very much is what works for you. And talking with your lymphedema therapist and trying out in the clinic, if you can, different pump styles to see what you'll use, because it'll only work if you use it, and that's the key. So we love that. Malik.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I will say I don't want to give a biased answer. I know I'm the one of the territory managers for the press. However, I will say with a lot of other the competitors, and actually one of my top doctors. No, I'm pretty sure Karen knows who Lindy McCutcheon is. Big lymphedema doctor here in North Carolina. I'm not sure if any of her staff members are on, but she had a staff member buy a pump off Amazon. And I told her, I said, please buy that pump and let me know how it works out for you. And so the lady bought the pump. She had it for maybe about 2 weeks. And then I came to the clinic that day and she said, Malik, you were right. You were right. That thing is awful. And so I say that to say even Karen said, you pay for what you get. I stress enough to my patients, I can't get you a pump as fast as Amazon, because we have a medical pump. We have to follow medical guidelines. There's a reason why you can get a pump from Amazon and not follow medical guidelines. And there's a reason why you get a pump from us and we follow medical guidelines. So I tell patients, please, please, please do your own research. Also, of course, look into other companies. However, I will tell you, we are in Lymphopress the only company. We are the only vendor that has 4 features in one pump. No other company has it. No other vendor has it. And you can't buy it off the market. You have to get it from Lymphopress. We are the only company that has pre and post wave and sequential on our Optimal Plus pump, which is on our website. Most companies, you either have the sequential. I'm pretty sure a lot of you all know about the squeeze and hold. A lot of people say they describe it as a blood pressure. That's how it feels like to them. So in layman's terms, I can put. But some people have the feature where it's more massage feeling. Again, every patient is different. That one pump may not work for you, but this pump may work for Angela, or this pump may not work for Karen, but this pump worked for Alexa. So with the Optimal Plus, I say that to say you get that choice that a lot of other companies can't offer to you. You have to have either one or the other, and we have all 4 in one. Even when it comes to our pre-therapy, patients that have lymphedema, especially in the abdominal area, a lot of lymphedema therapists, and Karen, you can back me up, they love our pre-therapy on our Optimal Plus, because we're actually clearing out that area before we actually move that fluid distal to proximal. So as you all know, it's not getting stuck in those more thick tissue areas in your extremities. So I, tell people all the time, the bread is in the pudding. What we promote is what we actually do on a daily basis. Give great service. We give hope to our patients. And then after that, we make sure we provide the best pump that is available to you. We do understand that insurance do have a play in certain things. And I tell all my patients, stay compliant with them. Stay compliant. Don't give them a reason not to pay for something for you. Let us as reps do that part for you, as in getting you what you need and having that argument with the insurance company. So definitely I look forward to the new products that's coming out as well. But I will say we are the only company, again, that has 4 features on one pump. No other vendor has it. No other company has it. And unfortunately, you can't buy it off Amazon.
That's the key takeaway. Don't buy your medical equipment off Amazon. Nancy had a really good tip in the chat. Nancy says, for those in the USA and may have trouble paying for a pump, check to see if your state has a rehabilitation services department. Her state, which is Michigan, has one. So that's a good tip. And Tora gave a shout out to Karen Ashforth. Tora said, Karen Ashforth is amazing. She helped me get my Lymphopress pod and jacket. I was lucky that my insurance paid for most of it, but the rep filling out the paperwork makes a big difference. And Rosie is continuing the Lymphopress love and says, I've been using Lymphopress on my legs for over a year and can highly recommend it as a patient. The staff came to my house and showed me how to use it before I purchased it. They are wonderful for following up and responding to phone calls and emails, which we so appreciate. Catherine, you wanted to pop in, and also real quick, hey, Nazarene. Nazarene just popped on. She's another certified lymphedema therapist, and we're so glad she could make it tonight.
So I wanted to just quickly say something, because I know Malik was just talking about the different modes that are available. And sometimes even as a patient, we need to use both modes. So I use my pump twice a day. I am one of those ones that has to get up super, super early. I teach high school, so I'm at work by 6:45 in the morning. So my alarm goes off at 4 o'clock. I will tell you, I use my pump before I get out of bed in the morning. I put it on the wave mode in the morning to get everything flowing before I put my compression on and do everything I do. And then when I come home from work and I'm getting ready to chill down for the night, that's when it goes on sequential, and that kind of helps to really push out the extra fluid that I built up during the day. So just because I have a pump that has that ability, I'm able to do lots of different things with it. So one of the other things that I'm able to do is if I need to turn off a channel because I'm having a problem. So I have a hip replacement. So sometimes I need to turn off a channel. I can turn off a channel depending on what model of the pump you have, and I can still use the rest of the pump on the rest of my body and still be able to get this treatment that I need without damaging the other area that, you know, other doctors are like, no, don't do that on that area yet, you know. And it's super important to understand that, you know, the medical grade pumps definitely, they last too. I will say that. Lymphopress pumps last. I was 10. I was 10 when my very first Lymphopress pump came to my house, and actually it was um, Eric Ansart, who is the president of Lymphopress USA, who brought it to me as my sales rep at the time. And that pump lasted me until, I want to say it lasted 20 years before it finally hit the motor stopped working on it. It was like 20 years. So these things last a long time. And I was an 8 and 10-year-old kid. So you can only imagine what I was doing to this thing, because I really didn't want to use it. So I was probably hiding it under my bed, throwing it everywhere I can. And it still lasted that amount of time. So they last a long time. So don't just say, oh, because it's 5 years old, I need a new one, because you might not need a new one. So if your insurance is like, not so sure, you might not really need a new one if it's still working and doing everything it's supposed to be doing, as long as you have that medical grade pump, because those over-the-counter ones, they don't work. I'm going to be honest. They don't work. I've tried them. They were horrible.
Well, Benton in the chat, he has a FlexiTouch bilateral sequential pump, and he's had it for over 4 years. And he says it's a wonderful way to obtain home self-care therapy. However, the gold standard of care is still CDT, complete decongestive therapy, or manual physical therapy and compression therapy. But my FlexiTouch stimulates gentle massaging fingers. However, the cost was high. My insurance paid for 75%. Lymphopress pumps are also state of the art, so you have good choices, which is always our message here, because we always say it every month. Everybody, they respond differently. Our lymphedema is all very different. It's variable. It's just important to do your research, know your options, ask questions. That's why we're here for you too, is to kind of get your feelers out and know what's out there. So we appreciate all of it. Mary said in the chat too, Lymphopress is awesome. I needed to go from the leg sleeves to the Optimal Plus. It had only been 3.5 years. It took 6 months, but my therapist working with Lymphopress got it done. I love my new pump. We love hearing everybody enjoying their treatment. Whatever pump it is, we're just so glad that you're doing your treatment, because that's really what it comes down to, is doing your treatment. Lots of chatter, lots of great questions in the Q&A box, but I did want to ask the chat, or the panel and the chat too, our relationship with ourselves. We referenced this a little early on this evening with the quote from Catherine from last year about accepting our lymphedema ourselves, because we can sometimes be so consumed with the treatment, the care. We may be in denial about our condition and not wanting to do anything to take care of it. And we might lose our sense of self along the way with that. So what is your experience with self-acceptance around your lymphedema, and how do you nurture your relationship with yourself? We've talked about this before. Angela said before some great things about getting hobbies that are not lymphedema related, which is great. She's in a theater group, I think. And Catherine, you do band. If you want to talk about that a little bit, but how do you nurture yourself beyond the lymphedema? Go ahead, Catherine.
So as Alexa said, I actually do band in a couple different ways. I am on our band staff at the high school I work at. So on those days, my day goes until 10 o'clock at night. And that is a very long day. And I purposely make sure that I leave on roundtable nights early, because I need to make sure I'm here for this. But also, I actually also play, but myself, because that is a self-soothing thing for me to be able to do, because it's something that doesn't change. It doesn't matter how I'm feeling, I can still play for the most part. So it doesn't affect, my lymphedema doesn't affect my ability to play my musical instrument. So it gives me that ability to just kind of relax and get in the zone of, let me relax myself and let me just kind of do my thing. So I can tell you this past weekend, I know Fenton saw this because he kind of commented on Facebook about it to me. I actually got to play at the Kimmel Center in Philadelphia in a musical concert. And we ended our concert with Fly Eagles Fly because the Eagles were playing in the Super Bowl. So we surprised Philadelphia with that, and there was 153 of us that were playing it all together. And it was really, I see Kate Fenton's comment about the video, because the video is posted on Facebook, on my Facebook page, and I believe it might even be on my Instagram. That we did that, and it's a lot of fun for me, and that kind of keeps my mind away from a lot of things.
That's good. That's so important to have something else to kind of define ourselves with. Because I know for a lot of us here on the panel anyway, who are, advocates for lymphedema, and some of us work in the industry like myself, and it's like our whole lives are consumed with lymphedema stuff. And it's okay to step away from that sometimes, as long as you're wearing your compression while you do it. But it's okay to kind of take a reprieve and throw yourself in other things that bring you joy. Olivia and Evie, do you have some little tips to share about that? Evie, you go first. I will just make the choice for you guys.
Yeah, I think for me, like my self-care is obviously roller skating. I love roller skating. It's so much fun. And I think what I also really love about it is like knowing that I can still roller skate just as good as an able-bodied person. When they see me out on the rink in my compression garment on my roller skates, people are like, wow, look at her, she's so cool. And it's kind of like a reminder, like, yeah, I am a cool girl, because I just grew up with so many insecurities, just like feeling really bad and icky about myself, that now it's like when people stare at my leg and they're curious to know why I'm wearing a garment, it's the complete opposite now. Like, I love the attention. I love it when people stare at me. Like, it kind of sounds egotistical, but honestly, I'm really proud of how far I've come along with like my insecurities and my self-esteem when it comes to my lymphedema. So I don't know, just lymphedema and roller skating, man, they go together like peas and carrots for me.
I love that. One of these days, we're gonna have to like show a clip of you roller skating or something. Because if you're not on Instagram, you can follow Evie on Instagram and see all of her great roller skating vids. But that's really neat. Olivia, what about you?
Yeah, so I am not a roller skater like Evie. I wish I could roller skate like her, but I'm not really sporty. That's not my thing. But I am more musically inclined, kind of like Catherine. I taught myself when we were in lockdown during the pandemic, the early times, how to play piano. And that became like a really self-soothing kind of routine for me when I find myself feeling really anxious or stressed out. Like, it's easy for me to go to my keyboard and just play some of my favorite songs. And it's also allowed me to express myself a lot too. Like, I now will post some of those videos online, and it's just nice to kind of be able to share that with friends. And I will also say, I know this isn't supposed to be about lymphedema, but playing the piano has been really, really good for my hands too. It helps me build up my dexterity and helps to kind of keep things flowing in my fingers and throughout my arms. And so that's something I really enjoy. And I did musical theater a lot in college and in high school. Like, that's kind of always been my thing, which I think is kind of similar to Angela too. But just performing for me is really big. It allows me to kind of put myself out there. I get to play these characters, kind of expand outside of who I am as an individual and take on an entirely different role. And I really love that. It's taught me so much about myself, and I find art to be such a beautiful way to just express yourself. And then kind of in addition to that, advocacy and activism is really, really important to me. And I do obviously advocacy through my lymphedema, but it also expands further than that. I'm also a queer person, so I do a lot of queer activism, and that has also been a really beautiful way for me to accept myself too. And I've made such a beautiful community through that as well. And just kind of being able to go out there and fight for others and fight for the rights of the others makes it easier for when I come back and need to advocate for myself to be like, okay, well, I'm going out there and I'm fighting for all of these people. Let's translate that into my own life. Like, if I'm willing to stand up for other people, I should be able to do that for myself too. And that's something that I really value and cherish. So those are some things I do. Maybe one day I'll be a roller skater, Evie, but for now I'm going to let you take that title.
I was just gonna say, my friends have heard you sing on Instagram and they're like, oh my God, she sounds so good. She sounds just like Chapel Roan.
Oh, such a compliment. Thank you.
Anyone else on the panel have any insights to share on finding your sense of self or nurturing your sense of self while living with lymphedema or treating people who have lymphedema? I mean, you therapists on the panel, you give so much of yourselves into helping us. So how do you kind of take care of you too?
For me, I find that it's often a slippery slope to be okay with lymphedema. I go from, okay, it is what it is, to I can't believe it is what it is. So I really have to take time and just nurture myself. I do a lot of self-talk, and I have to be careful what I say, because I can say a lot of negative stuff. Well, if you didn't have this, you could do that. And if you had that, you could, and I get really, really negative. So I have to take a lot of time sometimes to just be quiet and just accept where I am, because I recently was on that slippery slope and was almost sliding into things that people said would work. And I had to pull myself back. There's always something. If you ever go on Facebook, your algorithm is picked up. No matter what you look up, they'll put something there to make you real excited. And I get a lot of things about lipedema and it's easy for me sometimes to just kind of slide into, well, I'm going to try it. It sounds really good. And I have to pull myself back. So most of the time I just have to love me, and I just have to be okay with it, because it really is what it is.
It is what it is, and
Yeah.
it's nothing more,
A
nothing less.
saying I truly do hate, but
Yeah.
it is what
You've talked about it before. You are a
I
little.
do dislike it.
I love that. Karen and Nazreen and Malik too. I mean, you're with patients all day long. How do you kind of take, care of you amidst that?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh no, go ahead.
Hey,
Go
look at
ahead.
we got matching shirts on now.
I love it. I love it.
Hey, I asked my husband, go bring me my sweatshirt when I saw yours. Hey, I guess I would say that I feel very energized just getting to work with my patients. I feel that we are very lucky because there's so many people who don't have anyone. So I feel like once you get to help people find their way, figure out what they need, it's just so rewarding that I don't necessarily feel that burnout that maybe a lot of people do in their jobs. I really enjoy it, and I maybe don't have that same. I have great family though. I have 2 kids, nice husband who brings me my sweatshirt when I'm cold. So what else can you do? So, yeah, no, I'm just family's great too. So
That's awesome. Malik, go ahead.
Perfect. I was trying to get it to unmute, but I see it. I love it. I love it. But definitely, I will say, you know, I just try to be again that light to the patient, because I never truly understand, because I don't have lymphedema, so I can't tell them, how they shouldn't feel. I just like to be there to support them. It's so funny that you literally asked that question. I just had a patient I saw this past Tuesday, and her therapist wanted her to have the garment that covers her abdomen. And unfortunately, the patient, as a rep, I had to make a decision. Okay, should I get her what her therapist want her to have, or should I get the patient what I believe she should kind of have and what supports her here in her support system here at home, and her way of life. And the patient was a little bit, had a lot more swelling, especially in lower extremity. And me and her had some discussions about the lymphopads and her being able to get in and out of it comfortably. And she did kind of get a little upset that she wasn't going to get in and out of it comfortably. But I spent it, and I told her, I said, hey, you pump. Let's do this. Let's get you the basic pump. Let's get that swelling down in your legs. Let's get you back to a way where you can have a way of life, where you can get in and out of a garment. And then we'll get you what you need down the line, because your insurance will cover it. You're seeing that they're covering it now, so I'm pretty sure they will cover it later. And she called me the next day and she said, I was bummed out that, we had that conversation. But she said, hey, I had to sit back and really say thank you for having that conversation with me, because most people, as they see us as territory managers or even as sales reps, like that's what people think we are, just people that sell things to you. And, I told her, I said, It's not about the selling part, it's about you. And I don't want you to take your pump and put it in the closet. That's not what I'm here for. I don't want to provide you a product that you don't use. I would be doing myself and you as a patient a disservice. So once she took that and understood where I was coming from and her perspective as well, we ended up meshing like that. And she saw that I wanted her to be able to be happy and be able to feel like she can do things on her own and not feel discouraged because she can't get in and out of the garment by herself, or she needs two, three, four people to help her. Like that's not, I don't want nobody to feel like that or have to have that experience because I know you already feel, kind of on edge already. So I was like, hey, let's do this. And she liked my ideas. So we're doing that route. Even her therapist really appreciated me for doing that because some patients see garments online and it's a different feeling when you actually have it in person and and things like that. So she was able to get that one-on-one and that hand-on experience with the garment and things like that. So yeah, I deal with those patients all of the time and I encourage them to continue to keep striving and just be that support for them that everybody needs. And that's really it for me.
That's beautiful. I love that story too about really listening to what the patient's needs are. And we as patients on the panel always appreciate when we hear that expressed because we just are so used to being shuffled around and not listened to, not taken seriously or whatever it may be. So we really thank you and Karen and Nazarene and all that you do to make us feel validated and hopeful and helped. It's hard to believe we're already almost to the end of the hour and Karen still is going to do our closing exercise for us. So if y'all can hold on, we might go a few minutes over, but I really want Karen's closing reflection, especially this Valentine's week. So we're going to do that. And I want everyone to feel reassured too. We have so many questions in the Q&A box that we did not get to. We're saving them. We're going to talk about them next month. Next month is Lymphedema Awareness Month. So we're going to be hitting all the hot topics. So Karen, why don't you get us nice and settled this evening before we close out?
Great. Okay, well, I decided to find some love poetry to share with this group. And I have two poems. But before I do that, I want to share a Valentine that my husband gave me a few years ago. And he's in India right now, traveling for the next 6.5 weeks. And so I've been going through old Valentines, and it's like he's giving them to me all over again. So this first poem is actually dedicated to him. His name is David. And it's called I Carry Your Heart With Me by E. Cummings. I carry your heart with me. I carry it in my heart. I am never without it. Anywhere I go, you go, my dear. And whatever is done by only me is your doing, my darling. I fear no fate, for you are my fate, my sweet. I want no world, for beautiful you are my world, my true. And it's you are whatever a moon has always meant, and whatever a sun will always sing is you. Here is the deepest secret nobody knows. Here is the root of the root, and the bud of the bud, and the sky of a tree called life, which grows higher than soul can hope or mind can hide. And this is the wonder that's keeping the stars apart. I carry your heart. I carry it in my heart. This next poem I'm going to drop into the chat because I'd never heard it before, but I went searching for a poem about loving oneself. And this is called Love After Love by Derek Walcott. Time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself, arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, sit here, eat. You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit. Feast on your life.
Thank you so much, Karen. Oh, sorry, did I cut you off before you were finished?
Not at all.
Oh, the Derek Walcott poem, I could cry right now because someone once gave that poem to me after getting through a really tough time in my life, and that's such an important poem to me. So it's really some lymphatic kismet that you shared that tonight with all of us. I love that. Goodness, everyone, what a great evening. We didn't even get to all of the topics I had written out for the panel or all the questions in the Q&A box. So next month is going to be chock full of information and insights, just like every month. You know we're here every second Tuesday of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you can't make it live, we encourage you to still register so you can get the replay delivered to your email inbox as soon as we've got it edited and up on YouTube. I'm so grateful to our lovely guests tonight on the panel and everybody who is tuning in live, watching and talking in the chat. And we are just so glad you are our date tonight for this little lymphedema Valentine's evening. We hope you have a great rest of your evening and a really happy Valentine's or Galentines or Palentines, whatever you're going to celebrate this weekend. And we're going to see you on March 11th for Lymphedema Awareness Month. So everybody have a great evening. Bye.